Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wednesday Night Masters Muscle Podcast, episode 44. Vin, we kind of have what I'll call a triple threat tonight. We have a competitive bodybuilder, former competitive bodybuilder, we have a promoter, and we have a judge. So,
Yep.
Vin, who are we talking about tonight?
My friend Mike Matassa. Mike goes back a long way as a competitor, and I competed in his show in 2022 at the Daytona Pro. And I have to say, Mike did an amazing job as a promoter. I flew in the day before that nasty hurricane blew through Florida, and Mike was calm. And I also believe that, Mike, you had your mom's health was on the line at the same time.
Yeah. Yes.
You were dealing with so much stuff. And I went to Mike's personal training gym, I believe on Tuesday afternoon when I got in town, and it was sunny out. And I'm like, where is this hurricane? Come on. And it came all right. Holy crap. I'd never seen anything like that before. It was definitely, I could say I was in the middle of a hurricane, and Mike handled the whole situation. The venue got flooded out, and within hours, Mike and his team set up shop at the Hard Rock, and there was a stage, a backdrop, and we had a contest. Mike, thanks for that. Welcome to the show, and
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. How did you get into bodybuilding?
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was one of the most trying events I've ever had to do. But like Bob Cooch said, it was kind of like a throwback to the old time of bodybuilding, even before when you and I competed back in the '90s. I mean, it was old school the way it just felt.
Yep.
It was just an electric atmosphere about being there and stuff. And we had a huge show. I mean, the reason why doing it was so many people flew in. We had people from 8 different countries and 13, 14 different states who didn't have a hurricane hit them. They were still able to get here. So we had to do something for them,
Yeah, no, you did a great job. Tell us, let's go backwards a little bit. How did you end up putting on a pair of posing trunks and getting on stage yourself?
Jeez. So, funny story. Back in the early '90s, I lived with three girls, and 2 of them had boyfriends, and I was dating one of them, and all some of the boyfriends would come over and hang out and stuff, and I didn't really get along with them and stuff because I was going to the gym and I was working as a paramedic and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden they all decided to break up with the boyfriends at the same time. So I was at the beach one day driving up and down Daytona, and this guy was there, and it was one of the guys who was dating one of the girls that I was living with. And he's like, he waved me over, come on over. And we started talking, and a couple of hours go by. He goes, you have to work tonight? I said, no, I'm off. He goes, well, I'm getting ready to go work out and you want to come with me? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'll go with you. So I started training with him, and I just started responding and stuff. My body was changing, and we only had one pro bodybuilder even here in town in the whole area, and that was Lee Apperson. So bodybuilding wasn't a big deal in Daytona Beach. We all were in decent shape because of the beach, but nobody was bodybuilding at all. So one of the guys at the gym was watching me do pull-ups or something, and he knows how wide my back got, how small my waist was. He goes, do you ever think about doing a show? I'm like, a show? What do you mean show? What kind of show? He goes, a bodybuilding show. I mean, like, you mean like in the magazines and stuff, that kind of stuff, and flex and muscle? He goes, yeah. He goes, dude, I never really even thought about it. He goes, I think you should do it. You've got that type of symmetry and stuff and everything. I'm like, well, I'll look into it. And, back then, all you had was magazines and the Arnold Encyclopedia and stuff. So there was really, you had no way to really find this stuff out. But we did have a thing called Florida Muscle News that was being delivered to each.
Yeah.
And that had all the shows in Florida in it. So I picked a show in Jacksonville that was like, 20 weeks away or something. I started dieting, had no idea what I was doing basically. And that's how I got started. I won my first show. And then from there, it just, grew to something to be addicted to for a while.
So Mike, the first thought, like with a lot of people here, hey, you should compete. The thought of stepping on stage in your underwear in front of a boatload of people didn't make you were nervous or anything?
Dude, I was a lead singer in a band, and I performed on stage since I was 10 years old. So a spotlight was just what I needed at that time, So for me, it was awesome. I loved it. It didn't bother me at all, So it was very exciting. And being a smaller person, only 5'6", whatever, I was a great baseball player, great football player, but I never got anywhere because of my height. I was always penalized for being so small. So I was like, this bodybuilding thing might be something good for me. It's an individual sport. And it doesn't matter, as long as I bring the goods, I'm going to win. So that's kind of like really got me into it.
And how high in the ranks did you get? Did you go?
I placed second at the Nationals.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that was 97. So 3 years after my first show was in 94. So 3 years after I started, I placed second at the Nationals.
Okay, because I vaguely.
Because we were there together.
Yeah, we were there together because that was my first time going light heavyweight. And I placed fourth.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember. Now, you said you had a medical background, right?
Yeah.
So I had food poisoning. And the night before the prejudging, I was vomiting bad, horrible. And I believe you and someone else came up to me and said, "Are you okay? Because you look pretty pale."
Yeah, you looked bad. I remember that.
And I was hoping, and I'll say this, people know me. I was coming out both ends, and up until literally 20 minutes before I stepped on stage, I wasn't sure if I could flex or not, or I was going to shit my posing trunk.
Yeah, I remember you actually we were joking about that you thought you were going to take a dump on stage or something. You were that afraid of it. Yeah,
I was so nervous. I got through it, and I was like, I got to get sick more often before a show. It's really dried me out.
So wait, how did you place, Vinny, in that show?
I took fourth in the light heavyweights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you a middleweight, Michael, or what were you?
No, I was a bantamweight, dude.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was a bantamweight. I weighed in at exactly like 143 on the dot, like a third of a pound under.
Wow.
And it's funny because those were back then. They were all televised. It was on ESPN or whatever back, Sunshine Network or something.
Yeah.
And Sean Ray was actually the commentator. And my family was watching it and stuff. And he goes, great symmetry, conditioning's phenomenal, blah, 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 blah. But he just might be a little too tall for this class. It's the only time in my life that anyone in my family was too tall for something. Because
funny.
I mean, the guys I was going like Gennaro Bugante, Gennaro. Gennaro's beat me that year. He came in first, I came in second, and Gennaro was like up to here on me. I was like a full head taller than Gennaro.
Yeah, Gennaro's from New York, New Jersey.
Yeah, from Staten Island. I mean, that was so funny because I'm from Staten Island, and here we are, two of the top bodybuilders in the world and bantamweights are from Staten Island competing against one another on stage, at the Nationals.
Where did you train in Staten Island?
I didn't train in Staten Island. I didn't start lifting until I moved to Florida.
Okay, all right. Right.
I think the place he was trained on Staten Island used to be a carpet store, and it turned into a gym on Forest Avenue and Richmond Avenue or somewhere around there.
Yeah, that was pumping iron.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I remember it as a carpet store next to the Hess station.
Yeah. The years, man, we're going back a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, I the only weights I did when I played, I do stuff with my forearms playing baseball and stuff like that. You take a stick and you have the belt and you have a plate and you roll it up like this. So my forearms were huge, That was about it, just from playing baseball and tennis and stuff like that. But cool. I didn't do any weight training until like 1990. It was the first time when I met that guy,
Wow, that's pretty cool. 7 years you're on stage taking second at the Nationals. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I've made, if you remember back then, there'd be 40, 50 guys in a class.
Yep.
And if you didn't make the top 15, they said goodbye. So you didn't get a chance to do anything. You weren't even there for comparisons. They cut you loose. So my very first year, I did Nationals in 94, and I made top 15. So that, to me, I had no idea what I was doing. I got 9th or 10th the first time out. And then the next year, in 95, I came in, I did Junior USA, Junior Nationals. I got top 5 in both of those. And then I didn't do Nationals again until 96, 97 when I came in second. So,
did you do any more national shows after 97?
I did the USA's in 2000, and I came in sixth. I didn't realize how bad Vegas was with the heat because I'm from Florida and stuff. It's a dry heat out there.
Yeah.
I went for a walk. I lost like 10 pounds, and I was like, I lost my fullness. I was still hard. I looked good, but I just wasn't. I didn't make the top 5. I got 6th place, I think.
Gotcha.
And then I got sick in 2001. I got an infection, and I had to stop competing. I had C. diff infection from an antibiotic, and I was out from competing for almost 8 years. I didn't even go to any shows. I didn't go watch a show or anything. And my wife was I started her competing when I met her in 2005, and so I about 2008 we got her on stage, and she won every overall in bikini that you can do, and she's originally from Hungary, so she turned pro after I turned her pro after 1 year and a half of competing.
Wow.
Cool.
So she's been a bikini pro, figure pro ever since then.
So
Nice.
what was the heaviest you competed at as you continue to compete?
I got off seat when I did the USA's. I went to lightweight, and then I was getting ready for the next year. When I got sick, I was 198 pounds, and I was about 10% body fat off season. It was the best I'd ever looked, and then I got that C. diff infection, and I lost 50, 60 pounds in like 2 months.
Oh, wow.
They thought I was going to die. I mean, it was terrible. They didn't even diagnose the C. diff for like 6 months almost. I kept telling them, this is what I've got. Listen to me. I know my body. I know the symptoms. Treat me for this. And I couldn't get anyone to listen to me. Mayo Clinic, everything. I was out, So it took me 7 or 8 years to get back, even to start lifting and stuff again. And like any other bodybuilder, I just opened my own gym. So I was like so stoked. I was going to train all the time. I'm going to get my pro card. I'm going to do all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't pick up a weight for almost 5 years almost.
Wow.
So I couldn't. Like you said, I was afraid it was going to come out. I was either vomiting or diarrhea. Or it was just for almost 5 years nonstop.
Oh, shit. Wow.
It was bad. I mean, it was really bad.
And so how did the transition go from you're not competing, you're not training, and then you go into promoting?
Well, I started feeling better and stuff, and they came out with Men's Physique. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can do this Men's Physique thing. I can't train the way I used to train. I started lifting again. My body responded. I got up to back into the 190s again, and I was full and had great shape, and I still had my 25, 26-inch waist, And I started doing Men's Physique, and I placed top 5 several times at nationals and Masters nationals, and that I just never could put it all together to get my pro card. But I would win. I mean, I was 40-something years old, and I was, competing in the open, winning, Men's Physique in the open class.
Nice.
So, but and then I was during that transition when I went to Men's Physique. Pete Francher was the district chairperson here for the NPC in Florida. Pete's been around forever, and he saw me, how gung-ho I was helping out at all the shows and stuff, and the competitors I would bring, the quality of competitors I would bring to the show and stuff. And I put it in his ear that, listen, I want to judge, I want to be a promoter and everything. And at one show one time, he, after the show, he was sitting there and just leaned back and he said, "Are you ready?" I said, "Am I ready for what?" He goes, "I'm going to give you a show. You just make me proud." I said, "Don't worry about it. I'll make you so proud." And that was in 2010. So that was the first time we had the Daytona. It was just the NPC show. And back then it was still level. So it was a level 4A. So it wasn't a national qualifier even. So it was just it was a non-qualifier. And we grew from the very first show we did, my co-promoter, Tony Curtis, and I, which was now the North chairperson of the NPC. We ended up, I think we had 50 people in the first show. And we split like $25. And then from there, like last year, we had 400 people in the show.
Nice.
Between
Wow.
the Masters, the Pro, and the NPC, we had over 400 competitors. That's bodies. That's not with crossovers. That's bodies. We had 400 bodies in the show. So it went from 50 people to one of the biggest shows in the country. So I've been very lucky. And since then, I've got a couple more shows. I got a show coming up in 6 weeks in St. Augustine called The Iron Life. And I've got another show in Lake City with Tony called the Monster Classic. So I've been very blessed and very fortunate. But I work hard. And, videotape, he sees me everywhere. I mean, I was probably at 40 different shows last year, 6 different states, 7 different states, 40 different shows, traveling 40 different weekends out of 52,
So when you had the Daytona for a few years, and then how did it develop into having a story?
I always, and Pete was still the chairperson at the time. I was like, Pete, I want to do more with it and stuff. And he's like trying to talk me out of it, you don't want to do it as an expense. So I said, I got to do something, So finally, 3 years ago, I convinced Tony, my co-promoter. I said, listen, I'll just do it on my own. I said, the Daytona is us. I'll take all the financial responsibility. I want to do a pro show. And Tyler and Jim said, give me the thumbs up that I could do men's physique. So I did open men's physique, and I had masters men's physique that first year. And we had like 36 guys show up in the open pro class, and we had like 40 or 50 pro masters show up for the over 35, over 40 or 50. So I was like, wow. I'm like, and nobody was doing pro master stuff yet. So I was like, I'm like, I want to do this again next year, but I'm going to add pro masters in every division, men and women. So I talked to them about it, and they said, sure, if you think you can handle it, we got good feedback from your first show. You did a good job. So we'll give you that. We'll let you do the open men's physique, and then we'll let you do pro masters and bikini and figure and women's physique and men's bodybuilding classic and and men's physique. And that was in 21, and we had an incredible turnout. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. So we continued on for the next year, and then I had a person approach me who wanted to become a sponsor, and he wanted me to add the open women's stuff, the women's physique, the figure, and the bikini. So I said, sure. I mean, this is what it's going to cost and everything. So once again, now Tyler's was in charge, but now he became the president, the vice president. And Tyler said, Mike, sure. Well, you've done well with this. We'll let you do it. So that was last year. We ended up going with 4 open classes, 3 female, 1 male, and then all the pro master stuff. And sorry, that's the Bulldogs. And it went really well. We had it was like too big. Excuse me.
It's okay.
So it was a Friday night for pro masters, and then everybody else was going to be on Saturday. We had 175 pro masters.
Nice.
Sign up. We had no clue we were going to have that many. And then the technical people had a problem with the stage doing the video thing, so it put us behind an hour or so. And it was so many people trying to get them all through on Friday night. It was like, oh my gosh, it was almost overwhelming. But we made it through. We got it done. All the competitors were sports about it all. They saw everything that was happening. And I mean, you looked around, there was just bodies everywhere. It was absolutely incredible. We didn't expect that response. And so for this, and then Saturday was the regular show, and everything was butter. I mean, it was so smooth on Saturday because we knew that what was happening on Saturday. But with all the technical difficulties and a limited time being just like a Friday afternoon to get all the pro masters done, just wasn't enough time for all the people. So
right.
We have a new format now for this year.
So Michael, are a lot of your shows with the classes like in one day now, or are they kind of split over 2 days? Like it's Friday, one set of classes, and you know what I mean?
Well, it was 2 days last year, but it was only like a half a day for the pro masters. So okay. I watched Johnny Stewart do a couple of things last year and some other people, and they ended up doing like a Sunday show. And wow. I just never thought Sunday would work. So now what we're doing is for this year, for 2024, we're doing all the women will be on Saturday.
Okay.
NPC prejudging first, followed by the IFBB prejudging, and then the finals will be IFBB at 4:00 on Saturday, and then all the NPC ladies will be to follow that on Saturday. And then Sunday would be all men. IFBB and NPC. NPC starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, followed by the IFBB pro guys. And then the pros will start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we'll follow with the guys at night. So I think it's going to be really smooth. It's going to work really well. And, you know, it's Daytona Beach. Spain the whole weekend. Stay to Monday. You want to go to the beach. It's awesome.
What age categories are you having?
Geez, I got everything from 35 up to 60, and depending on the class. Bikini, we have, I think, 6 classes from 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60. Men's physique, it's going to be over 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Men's bodybuilding, I think we're doing 40, 50, 55, 60. I think the same thing in classic. Figure is going to be like 40, 50, 40, 45, and 50, or 55. And then women's physique is like over 40, 45, and 50.
Did you have that when I competed in it in 22?
No, we didn't have we didn't have the open women. We just had the Masters women.
Okay.
Yeah.
I entered the over 50 and over 40 bodybuilding.
Correct.
Yeah, I couldn't do classic yet because at the time they didn't increase the weight class yet. So,
you're like 5 or 7 pounds over still. Yeah.
Yeah, so now I can do classic.
Yeah.
Which I'll be.
So, yes. So when we added last year, we added all the open ladies classes, and we're gonna even though I don't have the same sponsor this year, I'm taking it on myself, and I'm still gonna, since it was advertised and I lost the sponsor, it doesn't matter. I'm still gonna have all the open classes like we had last year.
All right.
So, Michael, talking about classes, we have live watchers now that are asking questions when you and video don't see. One of our good friends, Bill Sternady, is asking, will you ever have over 65?
If I tell everybody, and you know, with the pro stuff, I have to get it approved by Tyler first, of course. But I tell people, send me a message. If you want to over 60 or 65 or over 70, let me know. If you can guarantee me 3 or 4 or 5 people, I will put it on. I want to get you guys on stage. So all people just have to reach out and ask me the question. And then if we get 4 or 5 more people, I call Pittsburgh and I say, I want to add this. And they go, sure, go ahead.
All right, Bill, so you have homework, Bill. Make it happen.
Yeah, I'm always open to ask. Last year I had wellness, but we only had like 6 girls come, you know? And so to me, it just wasn't worth having the wellness with only 6 people, you know? I'd rather spend that money somewhere else so there's better prize money for other classes, other divisions.
So, Mike, I read on the IFBB site the rules to the qualifying events up till September 15th, I think, are for the 2024 season. And so your show is a qualifier for the 25 Olympia?
This year, correct. Because they moved the date of the Olympia. Last year, the Daytona show was one of the last shows before the Olympia for qualifications. This year, the cutoff is the 15th, so we're 2 weeks after it. So unfortunately, like our first year we had the pro show, we qualified for the following year, which is pretty cool though, because if the Olympia goes back to November again or later in October, we'll have 2 people from Daytona at the Olympia like we did back in 2021. That's cool.
I talk to a lot of the Masters guys, and a lot of them are like, so, and I'm not sure if you heard or anything or know, or you even answer this, but like everyone, like there's a rumor saying that the Masters Olympia will come back in 25, and what shows will be qualifiers, and people are like, I want to qualify early. Should I compete after September 15th? Like strategy wise, people are trying to figure out like what they should do.
Yeah, let me check my Instagram real quick. I sent Alina Papa a message asking about when everything is going to be qualified and stuff, and I don't see a message. I don't see an answer back yet. But the last thing I had heard was that whenever they do have it, you're going to have to win an over 40 category in the Masters at a Pro Masters show. I was not privy to what shows, if they're going to only address certain shows or any show that has a Pro Master over 40, that one is going to qualify. I'm not certain about that, but I know from what I heard, the one thing I did hear was it will be someone who wins in over 40. And that's why if you see a lot of the Pro Master shows out now, they all have over 40.
Yeah.
Some were doing 35. They got rid of the over 35 because that wasn't going to do it. You have to win the over 40.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. I've received nothing official yet from Pittsburgh or from Phoenix about that as of yet.
All right, cool. Thank you.
I'm still waiting.
Mike,
as soon as I find out, it's going to be everywhere. I'll definitely tell you for sure.
Thank you.
Mike, are you impressed with how much growth it seems to be happening in the Masters divisions in general? I know Ben and I talk about this, but it seems like years ago you might have had half a dozen people, but now it seems like you're saying you get numbers upon numbers. Are you surprised or?
Well, no. Think about it. We've turned a lot of Pro Masters. I personally have turned in the past 4 years. I've turned 7 or 8 people pro in the Pro Masters. Right. So there's a lot. You go to the Universe, or you go to the North Americans or the Masters Nationals, you got 100 people turning pro, 177 people turning pro in the Pro Masters, Yeah. So there's a lot of competitors where we're losing them from the NPC now because they're IFBB pros. There was nowhere for them to compete. Promoters like myself, we've taken it upon ourselves to go ahead and give them that opportunity to step on stage again. Some shows are not charging an entry fee, but then their prize money is like only a couple $100. Last year I charged $125 entry fee, and say I had like 27 ladies and over 35 or over 40 bikini. Wow. My prize money was $2,700.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was divided by the top 3. So the lady, I forgot, her name escapes me, who won the women's physique. She won the Open women's physique, and she also won the Masters women's physique. But she won multiple classes in the Masters women's physique. She walked out of here with over $5,000.
Wow.
That's more than someone winning, in open classes and places, So there's with the entry fee, I put that almost the entire amount right back into the prize money for the competitors. So when there's 20 people, there's $2,000 in prize money, not 500, not 300. So it's it goes right into, it's a progressively gains too. So the more masters that join that division, the bigger the prize money grows. It's all progressive.
Well, I think like guys like you, Gary Udit, Tim Garner, you're showing a true love for competitors who are over 40. You guys are just building it, and you got 60, 55, 50, 40 age groups. And it's funny because when I tell people, like I was just at the dentist this past week, and I was telling my dentist about how the Masters are, and he goes back to Clarence Bass days, right? So I'm like, no, Tony, I go, Clarence wouldn't even be able to compete today. These guys are so advanced at 50 and 60 years old, and some of these 70-year-olds you'd be shocked at. So you guys, I tip my hat off to you guys. Thank you for giving a guy like me life. I love competing, and me, I've been doing it since I'm a teenager. And I enjoy challenging myself at this age and coming up with a physique that I'm happy and proud of. So thank you. I appreciate it.
That's you said it right. It's the passion that we have. Tim and I always talk to each other about how passionate we are about the sport. We communicate about that all the time. Unfortunately, I don't get to talk to Gary very often unless I'm up at the Masters Nationals or somewhere, and we get to sit down and talk a little bit. But yeah, Gary's the same way. Most of us are.
Yeah.
You have to be in this sport for the love of it. You can't very few people make a living out of it. You know that. Shoot. This is a sport it's passion driven, and it's the love of the sport, and it's the love for the competition and the challenge that you set for yourself that keeps us growing and keeps it going. And as a promoter, as a judge, I love seeing that, and I love giving it back. And giving people that hopefully to share some of that passion with them. When we do all these free posing seminars and stuff, You know, I tell everybody that I said, listen, if you walk out of here or after your first show and you have just 1/10 of the passion for this sport that I have, this sport will continue to keep growing over the years exponentially. So that's the one thing that we really try to do, is to share that passion with everybody.
Cool.
Mike, I have a question for you. Something you brought up earlier, okay? I used to compete myself a few times in Florida in the 90s as well. And there were levels. I remember level 1 through 4. Like level 1 was like one city, one town, and then it grew and grew and grew. But it seems like there's no more levels. Why did they do away with levels? Because everything's a national qualifier, even for someone doing their first show.
You know, personally, I don't know the politics behind the whole thing, but because the conversation that I heard was that, you know, people were almost spending the same amount of money to put these shows on, and 1/3 or 1/4 of the amount of people would show up at the Daytona show because it was Mr. Daytona, compared to going to the All South or the First Coast in Jacksonville, which was a national qualifier. So that national qualifier with that name was pulling more people in. So they kind of wanted to make it a more level playing field, which I think around the country, most of them were that way. They were just one. They weren't multiple levels like we had in Florida. But in Florida, we have 35 to 45 shows a year, depending on the year. So, I mean, every weekend there's a show somewhere in Florida, basically. So it's a lot of competition down here.
Yeah, in Jersey, we didn't have levels, but we definitely had maybe like, we're going back like early 80s, like a few like novice shows. Yeah. And then we had John Kemper, who became our chairman, and he changed that and made it better and made everything a national qualifier, because what you're saying is true. Yeah. You're investing the same amount of money as a promoter for a show that you're hoping to get 40 competitors. Yeah. When in 2 weeks there's a show that's a national qualifier and they're going to get over 100. Yeah. You know, yeah. So it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, and the way it was set up in Florida, it was kind of cool though, because not everybody was ready for a national qualifier. Yeah. So and people here would go ahead and do a level 1, level 2 show. If they won their class or won the overall, they knew they could go up to a level 3 or level 4 show. If they did that well there, then they know they might have a chance to get in the top. Well, back then too, I think it was top 5 qualified for nationals at one point. You know. At least for the junior USAs and junior nationals, the nationals and USAs, I still think you had to be top 2. But at least they knew they had a chance to make top 5, and then they knew they could grow from there. And we used to tell people, and when I was competing, I didn't go to the nationals till I made top 5 or won junior USA or junior nationals. You know, the first time you step on stage against people from around the country, you know, you don't belong on the stage at the nationals unless you can do well there. You know.
Absolutely. I see it in my own gym. I see people who act like they won the Mr. Olympia and you know, go to the nationals and don't even crack the top 15. Yeah, I mean, and like as a coach, I had a young lady who came to me, and she was a fitness competitor, and someone said, "Oh, Mike, you need to look at this girl. She wants to do this." And I looked at her. After she did a couple of tumbling runs and stuff. And I said, "Are you ready?" She goes, "For what?" I said, "For the ride of your life." And she's one of the rare people. She did a national qualifier. Actually, I had to do another show before the qualifier because she had never been on stage. So I said, hey, go do this show first, and then we're going to do a national qualifier. She won that one. Then she did the national qualifier. She won that. I took it to Team Universe back when it was still Team Universe, and she won her division at Team Universe and got her pro card. So she got her pro card in 3 shows. One of the few people. You know, there's not many that do that, you know. So and she's still competing now. Her name is Tiffany Chandler. She was just at the Olympia. She was just at the Arnold, you know. So she's a great competitor, and she's been doing it for years now. Awesome. But she was one of those rare birds. When you see them, you know it. As soon as you see them, you can take them there. Yeah. But all these other teams, they got people who don't even belong on stage, and they're just pushing them there with the numbers, you know. See it all the time. See it all the time. It's like I think it's a little insulting when you're talking to people and they're like, "Yeah, I'm going." Two things that annoy the hell out of me now. I'm going to Pittsburgh to get my pro card. Okay, what contest in Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh. I go, which one? And they don't even know. But you and I grew up in an era we knew the names of the titles. We wanted a title, right? Yeah.
And now they don't. Huh? We knew the history. We knew who won it the year before. We know who might be showing up, who we're going to stand next to, and hopefully have to beat them. You know.
And we would never, ever say, I'm training to get my pro card. It was so insulting to people that were ahead of you. Now it's like,
I mean, Vin, when we were competing, 9 people a year turned pro.
Yep.
You know, and you got 9 people in one age group turning pro now.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's growing, which is excellent. And
100%.
you know, like when you and I were a lot younger, and a lot of the local shows, you had maybe 10 masters guys, if that, and you had 40 or 50 teenage competitors. And the opposite. Maybe you're lucky if you get 1 or 2 competitors in the teenage, and you get 30 to 40 in a local show for masters. So it's growing.
I think for the teens, it's become a little expensive for the teenagers a little bit. With the sanction fee, with the registration membership fees a little bit more. I mean, my first membership fee was $25.
Yep.
You know, I was probably only making $15 an hour, but still $10 an hour. But you know, and the girls, they have to spend $500, $600, $700 on shoes, you know, a suit and shoes and stuff. So for a teenage girl, that's a lot of, you know, their parents have to dish in for that, and it's got to be something that they want to keep doing. You know, we got to make it a great experience for them to come back as a teenager when they're 18 and 19, and when they're 20, 21 to move on and to keep competing, to get other people to come in with them. But I think back when we were competing, I think it was, you know, my first show, I think it cost me, you know, $100 between the hotel room and the gas to drive there and my posing trunks and everything. I was on stage, you know, it was $100. That was it.
And that's what you used to put on the Pro Tan with a brush.
Oh yeah. You have a best friend who you trusted and didn't take pictures and didn't tell anybody what you guys had to do. You were bent over the bathroom countertop and he's getting the lines on your glutes. Trying to
The good old days.
Yep. So true.
It's so funny. My friend Jerry, who I worked with and we competed together, when I decided to come back. I hadn't got sick yet. And this was like 2001, and I was getting ready for a show. I was doing a show before the USA's, and we were at his house, and I saw his Craftsman spray thing and air thing there. I said, "Hey, dude, what's that?" He goes, "Oh, that's my paint sprayer." I said, "Hey, let's put the Pro Tan in that and see if it works." And we ended up doing it, and we're in this garage, almost butt naked, and he's spraying me with this thing. I'm like, you know what? We could probably make a living doing this. And we just totally dropped it. We never even talked about it again. And then, you know, 4 or 5 years later, that's what everybody was doing. You know, it was so funny. Yeah, but that's when we had the muscle juice and the spray tan. Stuff. Oh God, yeah. Oh, smells like cinnamon everywhere. And
I was allergic to what was that spray stuff?
The hot stuff, muscle juice.
Yeah, I was. Oh my God! Once I walked into the back, and that stuff hit my face.
Woo.
My eyes were just, you know. And then you got the Pro Tan on. You're like, I can't watch my face.
Yeah. The hot stuff had like cayenne or something in it to try to get the vasodilation or something.
Yeah, and a matter of fact, I was at a show in Orlando this weekend, and somebody had it on, and it stunk up the whole back. I was like. It's like, oh, that brings back memories. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So Mike B, when the shows that you promote, can you also judge, or is that kind of a conflict of interest?
No, you don't judge the show you're promoting, and you don't judge. You can't judge if you're training somebody. You don't judge that. You don't judge that show either. That's a conflict. You don't want to do that. So, but you know, it's. I do expedite though. Like if I'm promoting the show, I could be the head expediter. I could be the backstage guy. I could be checking tickets up front. I'm everywhere. You know, whatever needs to be done, you got to get it done. But luckily we have a lot of judges here in Florida that we can pull from and stuff. So that's usually not a problem.
Yeah, we got John Natashak is going to be having a show this year, right?
Jack Daddy.
Yep. Yeah.
Chisel.
That's you know, John was my mentor.
People don't realize how good he was, man. He was a phenomenal bodybuilder.
Oh yeah,
this dude was it.
I was 17 or 18 years old. I watched him train for the Nationals back in '84. It was like, you know, a cartoon character coming to life.
Yeah.
His arms were gigantic, and he was one of the guys that took me under his wing in the gym, and Staten Island, Jersey.
Yep.
Your balls broke and getting abused half the time from these guys,
Yeah.
and they took me under their wing and just fucked with me all the time. And I was just one of the kids with them, and that was a big reason why I kind of got into bodybuilding. So I wanted to be like him a little bit. And now I wanted to do the show, but I'm actually going on vacation in May, so I'll never make it in time. No. Never be able to balance that.
Yeah, it's funny. Like you talk about that. For me, Frank Zane. I saw his pictures in the magazine. I'm like, I think I can have that type of look. I think And then there was Steve Breezeboy.
Oh yeah.
Steve.
Steve used to come here in Daytona Beach. So before, it's when I started working out and getting better shape, before I did my first show, I'd see him down here on the boardwalk and on the beach and stuff, and walk up. I started talking to him. I'm like, dude, I'm taller than this guy. Holy cow. And he probably outweighed me by 30, 40 pounds still, at that time, because I hadn't grown as much as to compete yet. And then, and then Lee Labrada, of course, and meeting him. And that was just like, wow, that was phenomenal to meet him. And then you know what? I can do this. This is what I want to do. And, so those were kind of my guys that I got to meet and stuff and talk to, and to help motivate me and get me going into the right direction.
I saw Lee Labrada win the '86 Night of the Champions in the Beacon Theater. It was one of the first pro shows I ever went to. And, I don't think a lot of people realize I'm going to say this for a lack of a better term, for a little guy, he was big. He was thick. He was thick and had great symmetry and that typical X frame. And then you see his wife is, I think close to 5'11", and Lee is 5'5".
Yeah, I'm 5'6.5", 5'7" on a good day. Now I'm a little shorter, and I'm taller than Lee. So yeah.
And Hunter now has his mother's height and his father's genetics, and it's a crazy combination. If
Hunter can just dial it in, man, that last 48 hours, the kid's gonna win an Olympia, I think.
But if you look at Lee Labrada too, back in the early days of his career, the '85 Olympia, '86, he was holding water back then.
Yeah. Well, a lot of guys did. Either they're the super extreme or they held. I mean, I personally don't know what the regimes were back then, but it was it's probably a choice thing, of the competitor.
Well, like today, but I think people today are more like brainwashed that they think they need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and the list goes on, right? And if you talk to these guys, I don't want to say names, but if you talk to the guys from the '90s and 2000s, when they kept things basic and simple, people can't comprehend that today. I don't know why. How did that change? Like, why is more?
It's simple, stupid. That's very. It's not rocket science. It's really not. Just got to be safe. That's all. It's there's a competitor from here in town. I know Dorian. I don't know if you know Dorian Haywood. He's a big dude. He's out in Denver now, and I always tell him, I said, listen, Dorian, you're big enough, man. You just got to come in. You just got to come in chiseled. If you come in chiseled, you're gonna win a show. He's that close, but he's always worried about the size, and hopefully, I think this year he's gonna surprise some people and really bring it in. And he was actually supposed to come by here today. He didn't make it. I was gonna take a look at him, but I think he's doing the New York Pro. I think he's gonna surprise some people up there.
Dorian's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
We met last year for the first time, because we always see each other throughout the years from competitions, results and stuff. And he knew my name, I knew his name, and we got along really well. He's a good guy.
You gotta, if you ever get him on here, you gotta make him play his banjo.
His banjo,
dude, he's phenomenal.
Oh, really?
He's a great banjo player, dude. He's absolutely really good.
All right. Tell him to contact me. We'll get him on.
Oh yeah,
that's funny.
So Mike, are you judging upcoming pro shows too?
That comes from Pittsburgh. I don't know. Okay. I'm hoping to. I talked to Sandy this weekend and stuff, and and hopefully we'll get an email to get me up to do some of the pro shows. But I'll be doing shows here in Florida, NPC shows this year. Got one in a few weeks. I got several coming up, so it keeps me busy.
Cool.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
So if people that are listening to this and watching this, some people think they can be a judge. They're a good, judge. What are the characteristics, attributes, whatever you want to say, to be a good judge? If someone thinks they can be a judge for a bodybuilding show.
Yeah. I think the first and foremost is, there's a lot of people who've never stepped on stage before, and they can have a good eye and stuff. But I think part of it is you have to be in the sport really to really be that good, and it's just about paying attention to the details, knowing what you're looking at, communicating, not being afraid to ask the person next to you, hey, do you see the symmetries missing here, or that lat look right to you, or am I seeing what you're seeing and stuff like that? To me, that's not being afraid to ask questions makes a really good judge.
So let me ask this question. So I see two trends that have happened over the course of a few years now. One is like we went from having our heels together in a relaxed stance to guys are standing 5 feet wide. And that, I believe, comes from the competitors themselves. They change it.
Correct. And they're trainers.
Yeah.
Now I'm from old school judging with Pete Francher, like I told, and Pete wanted you to stand straight up and down this way, this way, this way, this way. There was no doing all this kind of stuff. He had your feet together on the side, heels together on the front and back. He'd call you out about it too and make you do it. So I don't see the head judges making people accountable for those stances anymore.
The other thing I see, and I've seen it in videos and pictures, but I didn't think it would be on stage. And so I have a couple of guys competing this coming weekend in the Mets in Jersey here. And as they're going through their posing routines, or their quarter turns, I should say, instead of so they do a quarter turn to the right and they're facing this way, they're showing their back first and then turning around. And I'm trying to explain to them that it is not a mandatory pose to show your back at all in a quarter turn. Like, well, they do that. I go, I don't care if they do that. And I always try to instill, get into the pose first and get out of the pose last. Why are you wasting time? I would rather see you do your quarter turns and then have everyone else mess up and their judges looking at you.
And depending on the head judge, like if it's Steve or somebody, they're going to say quarter turn to the right, quarter turn to the right, quarter turn to the right, face front. And it's going to be that fast. Yep. You can't do that when there's a head judge like Steve or someone or myself, and we're just pushing you through it. If you don't get a chance to show me the pose, I can't judge you.
I try to explain to some of these guys.
First in, last out. That's how I tell everybody all the time.
You're going into a show that's a national qualifier. Think of it as college. They're trying to prep you for life, right? In college. So when you go to these shows, they're prepping you for the USA, the North America, the nationals. And it's even faster there.
Yep.
Right. So I just don't understand why guys are taking. I think they look at guys on the pro levels and try to act like them.
And Vinny, and it comes out. There's too much information out there.
Oh my God!
You've got all these people who are gurus on Instagram and Facebook or TikTok, or whatever, who really don't know what the heck they're doing. They don't have they don't have the purity of the sport in mind. They don't have the experience that the people have in the sport. And you'll get an NPC competitor who's watching pros pose instead of watching an NPC competitor going through the motions and posing the way the judges are calling for it. That's to me, that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make. When we do our posing seminars here in Florida, one of the first things I tell them, listen, when you're looking at videos, make sure it says NPC on it, not IFBB Pro, because it's different. There's a different way that we want to see you as an amateur compared to how the pros get the pose.
Yeah, I'm glad you made that point because I'm arguing that all the time.
Yeah, But yeah, definitely that. I mean, yeah, it looks pretty when someone's got that nice big wide shoulders and that tiny waist, and they do that and they bring it back around. The worst part is a lot of the ladies are doing it. The women are doing that in figure and women's physique. It's not just the guys. Like JM, I've spoken with JM before, and he's like, these men's physique guys are throwing bicep shots in there. They don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. Bikini girls are doing lat spreads, like a little lat spread, or they don't want to see that. Do your bikini posing, do your figure posing, do your men's physique posing. You want to do a bicep, do classic physique or bodybuilding, not men's physique.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. 100% right.
Yeah.
Do you feel that in today's landscape, let's say open bodybuilding, that there's more different types of physiques? Like there's so many different shapes and sizes now more than ever, or is it just me looking? Because I'm a prodigy of the 90s. And I look now and there's so many different sizes and heights and whatnot. I think there's more diversity maybe.
I don't, when you talk about open bodybuilding, I think the open bodybuilders pretty much all look pretty much the same.
Okay.
When I'm looking at them from my point of view. Yeah, there'll be somebody who's a little bit taller, a little bit shorter. Like, you look at Samson Duda, guy's phenomenal. Absolutely, with his height, he's got the fullness. Then you compare him to someone like Derek, who's shorter and stockier. But the taller guys seem to have a nicer flowing physique compared to the shorter guys who are just much more stockier with that thicker waist. And to me, my whole thing was I like my symmetry, the small waist. But I mean, I was never 300 pounds either. So at the same time, I'm to the point where I like the small waist. I want to see that taper, but you can still be 300 pounds and have a small waist if your back and shoulders are this wide. So there can still be that taper. And, Nick is one of the perfect people with that. He brought his waist in. He had that beautiful taper come out. And, even Derek can do the same thing. That back is so wide, and it doesn't matter that he has that. And Hottie made improvements this year. I mean, when Hottie hit, we gave it that, I was like, holy smokes, when did his waist look that small before?
Yeah. He's got attention to the waistlines.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it was amazing, I mean, his waist almost looked smaller than Samson's waist, for God's sakes. It was incredible to watch. And then you got to remember too, it's an illusion, right? If you know how to show your physique the right way, you're creating an illusion up there. You want to show people a certain type of shape by creating that illusion with the way you're holding yourself and how you can show your physique,
Yeah, getting back to what you were saying earlier.
Who's the better person of showing that illusion on stage with their conditioning and muscularity to take it all the way? I mean, when you go to most of these pro shows, you'll see 2 or 3 guys in the final confirmations. That's it. You have a top 5, top 6, but there's only 2 guys to call out for confirmation, maybe 3. Everyone else you can call them. You can judge them from 27 all the way down to 3. You can tell just by looking at them. That's where they belong, and they look that way. This one's not as big. This one's his symmetry's off. This one's conditioning's off. And just all the way down. You have an eye. You can see it that quickly.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, when we tell people on the national level or just the amateur level in the NPC. If I'm at the judging table and I can see you, I am judging you. So if a judge can see you and you're standing on an angle or diagonal, or you're getting ready to come on stage, I only need 3 to 5 seconds to see somebody on stage to see what they look like. Mm-hmm. And then they're doing their shtick. I'm looking around at somebody else because I got to come up with the top 5. Yeah. Right. If you're staying on the side and you ain't ready and you're doing something else, I turn away. I'm looking at somebody else. So if a judge can see you, you need to make sure that you're in your right posing, that you're tight. Even if it's a relaxed pose, you're in the right pose. The lats are out, you're turned to the side or whatever it is to make yourself look the best possible. I remember at the Tampa, I think it was Tampa last year, I was sitting in the second row and there's one coach sitting next to me and they called out the top 5. And I think I want to say it was in men's physique. And I could see he was yelling at his competitor and stuff like that. And the guy was like, I leaned over to the coach. I said, listen, I said, you need to get him to freaking keep posing. I said, he's got a top 5 physique up there. I said, they're going to add him. If he stays there hard and hits the right pose and they see him, they're going to put him into the call out. And he's yelling, and he finally gets back into his pose and stuff. And sure enough, what they do, they called him into the top 5. Now he's top 6. I think he ended up coming in 3rd. They end up moving him because his coach got him to pay attention after I told him, listen, he's got a great physique. He belongs up there. Get him to pay attention.
Yep.
Was he just getting out of the pose too quick?
He was just relaxed because he was pissed because he wasn't in the first call out.
Oh, okay.
But it's not done yet.
Yeah. A lot of people do that.
Because you see somebody, boom, 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 and you're looking, I'm like, you know what? That guy looks better than this. He's fading already. Let's bring him in.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that. They get, I didn't make first call out. Dude, first call, it ain't done until they call the next group of people out.
Yeah. You hit so many major points that I talk to my competitors about, and it's like I try to tell them, I don't care how many guys get called out in the first call out. You cannot relax and act like you're not getting called. You got to act like you're in the first call out because you might get pulled into that group. Yeah,
because they may dismiss 1 or 2 guys and bring 2 more in.
Yeah.
So, they may have already picked 1st and 2nd, but guess what? 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th are still up for grabs, and they're going to add you to that group, so you can go from not being in the call out to coming in 3rd.
Yeah, see it all the time. Yeah. So, Mike, with your personal training studio, how do people get in touch with you to prep them for shows down in Florida or around the country? Do you work with people around the country?
Yeah, I have several online people I work with around the country. Jersey, I think you met one of the girls I was training in Jersey, Patrice, up there. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, basically the easiest way is to get me instant messenger on my Facebook or just on a message on Instagram is the best way. You can get me through the NPC Daytona Beach Classic or Instagram. It's also To Be Huge, TOOBEHUGE.
All right, cool.
Instagram. And it's funny, when I first started working out, there was a guy from New York who used to work out with us here in Daytona Beach, and he had a worse accent than I have. My accent's gone now, unless I'm talking to someone from New York and it comes out. But he would walk around there, I want to be huge, huge, I'm going to be huge and all this stuff. And I was like, To Be Huge. I'm like, I love that. And I ended up getting my license plate to say To Be Huge on it and everything. And so that became my AOL when the internet started. That became my AOL, my Gmail, everything now. So everything's To Be Huge.
Love it.
Guy walked around the gym. I want to be huge.
That's funny. I was always wondering how that. That's funny. That's pretty cool.
Mike, as you wind down, what are some of the upcoming shows that you're promoting? Go ahead and promote that too while people are watching and listening.
Basically, the next show we have is in 6 weeks up in St. Augustine. It's called the NPC Iron Life Classic. It's a great little show. It's the 3rd year. First year, we had it here in Daytona Beach, but there's so many things going on in Daytona Beach with concerts and races. It's hard. So we're going to bring bodybuilding back to St. Augustine. It's a great town. It's a great place to visit. It's a great little show. In 2 years, we've had, I think, 7 of our overall winners turn pro.
Wow.
In the past 2 years. So that's the kind of quality that little show brings. The big show is the Daytona Beach Pro-Am, September 28th and 29th. Pro Masters and everything except for wellness, unfortunately, and women's bodybuilding. Open figure, open bikini, open women's physique, open men's physique. Looking forward to another great show. Hopefully we'll get another 400 people show up for the show. It's going to be awesome. The Hard Rock is the host hotel here on the beach. It's a great place to stay, great place to get together. And then we have a show in November 9th. It's called the Monster Classic in Lake City. It's a national qualifier. It's a great little show as well. That's been going on for about 10 years now, I think. It's had different transitions, different names and stuff, but it's been pretty consistent. It's a great little show in Lake City.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah. And this is your 14th year? 14th year promoting?
14th year as a promoter, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been a journey. We talk about JM and everybody. I met JM for the first time back in 1994 when I was training a girl named Mandy Blank, who was a fitness girl.
Wow. Yeah.
I introduced her to JM, and JM was like, he was barely, I think he was the same age I am, so we're like 20-something years old, It was the first. So I've known JMs for over 20 years now.
That's pretty cool. A lot of history.
Yeah, a lot of history.
Mike, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. All right.
It was a pleasure. And for everybody listening, make sure you subscribe. If there's anybody you're looking forward to us bringing on, contact Vinny or myself. But as always, every Wednesday night here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you here in Daytona Beach.
Thanks, guys.